A kamikaze pilot crashed his plane directly into a destroyer at full speed. 38 men were killed, 55 more were wounded. The ship was on fire, flooding, and dead in the water in the most dangerous stretch of ocean in the entire Pacific War. That's not even the strangest part of this story. Most people have never heard of the USS Kidd. I want to fix that. What this ship went through is one of the most extraordinary stories in American naval history. Rear Admiral Isaac C. Kidd was the first American flag officer killed in World War II. On December 7, 1941, he died on the bridge of the USS Arizona at Pearl Harbor, refusing to abandon his post as the ship exploded beneath him. The Navy named a new Fletcher-class destroyer in his honor, the USS Kidd, a ship that would carry not just his name, but his spirit. When the crew first gathered in 1943, they wrote to Admiral Kidd's widow for her blessing. She answered with a simple message: make the ship worthy of his memory. That challenge became a mission, but the Kidd's crew wanted more than a name. They wanted an identity that could bind them together, something bold enough to match the man they honored. So they became the Pirates of the Pacific. With Mrs. Kidd's approval, the men painted a grinning pirate on the forward smokestack and raised a black Jolly Roger flag above the deck. It was more than a joke. The pirate flag flew for the first time in New York Harbor in May 1943, and again during wartime drills off Long Island Sound. A Navy photographer captured the moment in a Time magazine photo in September 1944. It showed a destroyer at battle stations flying a pirate flag with the blessing of the Admiral's widow. That image became legend. It was a symbol of defiance, camaraderie, and the promise that no matter what hell the Pacific might bring, the Kidd would fight as one. The crew called themselves pirates, but they were also brothers, each man carrying the burden of their namesake's sacrifice. This shared identity would become their armor in the chaos to come. Steel and sweat built the USS Kidd, but it was the first tests that forged her legend. On paper, she was a powerhouse, 376 feet from bow to stern, bristling with 5-inch guns, 10 40mm Bofors, and a battery of torpedoes. She could push 36 knots, driven by 5,000 shaft horsepower and 4 roaring boilers. But numbers alone do not tell the story. The real proof came in the chill of Casco Bay, Maine, just weeks after commissioning. During a night exercise on October 22, 1943, 2 star shells from the battleship North Carolina ripped through Kidd's hull. Friendly fire, but a real test. The shells punched into the forward torpedo room, sparked a fire, and left a gash in the steel. No one was hurt. The crew sealed the breach, snuffed the flames, and sailed on. The deck log simply noted, "Hull breach forward, damage control parties aboard." No injuries. That toughness was tested again, off Rabaul, on November 11, 1943. At dawn, a carrier plane crashed into the sea. Lieutenant Commander Alan Roby did not hesitate. He ordered the rescue boat launched. As Kidd's crew pulled 12 airmen from the water, Japanese dive bombers pounced. Enemy bombs splashed close, a torpedo missed astern, and 3 attacking planes fell to Kidd's gunners. Roby's calm under fire earned him the Silver Star. The official citation praised his conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity, words that barely capture the chaos and courage of that morning. These early trials, one by accident and one by enemy action, proved the Kidd was more than just a ship. She was a survivor, led by a crew that would not back down. That reputation would follow her into every battle across the Pacific. From the moment Kidd joined the fleet in 1943, she was in the thick of it, her wake cutting through nearly every major campaign in the Pacific. The ship's log reads like a checklist of some of the hardest fought battles of World War II: Wake Island, the Gilbert and Marshall Islands, the raids on Rabaul, the Marianas, the Philippines, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa. Each operation brought new dangers, new scars, and new stories that most people have never heard. Kidd wasn't a ship that lingered in the rear. She escorted carriers through typhoon seas, traded shots with shore batteries, and pulled downed airmen from burning water while enemy planes circled above. In the Gilberts, Her guns thundered in the pre-dawn darkness, covering Marines as they hit the beaches. Off Saipan and Tinian, she ran picket lines and fended off torpedo bombers. At Leyte Gulf, Kidd screened the fast carriers of Task Force 38, braving the chaos as kamikazes crashed into the fleet. By the time the fighting reached Iwo Jima, Kidd's crew had rescued dozens of pilots and survived a dozen close calls. Each time, the black pirate flag flew defiantly above the deck. The Navy kept score. By war's end, USS Kidd carried 8 battle stars for her World War II service, a tally that put her among the most decorated destroyers of her class. She would later earn 4 more in Korea, but it was the Pacific campaigns that forged her legend. Every star was hard-won, paid for in sweat, steel, and sometimes blood. As 1945 opened, Kidd was a veteran among veterans. It was no accident that she was chosen for the most dangerous role of all, radar picket duty off Okinawa, where the deadliest kamikaze attacks awaited. The ship that had survived so much was about to face her greatest trial. The radar picket line off Okinawa was a place where luck ran out fast. Navy doctrine called for destroyers like Kidd to patrol alone, miles ahead of the main fleet, their radars sweeping for incoming threats. On paper, the idea made sense. Catch Japanese planes early, give the carriers and transports a fighting chance. In reality, these picket stations were death traps. The men who drew picket duty knew the odds. They stood watch as the first line of defense, but also as the first targets. Kamikaze pilots hunted them with single-minded ferocity. The numbers tell the story. More than 350 ships were sunk or damaged during the Okinawa campaign, most of them hit while on picket duty. April 1945 brought the peak of this nightmare. Japanese command unleashed wave after wave of suicide planes. Some days, more than 100 kamikazes launched at once, each one searching for the lonely blip of a destroyer on the edge of the radar screen. Doctrine manuals called it early warning. Crews called it sitting on a powder keg. Watches stretched into hours, eyes glued to green-lit scopes, every blip a possible death sentence. Kidd was assigned to picket station early on April 11th, 1945. She steamed into position, engines humming, radar spinning. The men at their posts could recite the drill, track, report, engage. But no drill could prepare them for the reality. Out here, a destroyer was often all that stood between the fleet and disaster. For the pirates of the Pacific, the next hours would test every lesson learned in blood and steel. At 1:55 in the afternoon, the radar screen flashed and the sky erupted. A single Mitsubishi Kai-51, painted green and carrying a 250-pound bomb, broke through the flak and came screaming down in a near-vertical dive. The crew barely had time to shout a warning before the plane slammed into Kidd's forward starboard side, just below the main deck, between the 2 forward boilers. The impact was instant and brutal. The bomb punched through the hull, tore across the fire room, and detonated in the water off the port side, sending a shock wave that ripped through steel and flesh alike. 7 men died where they stood in the fire room. On the bridge, shrapnel cut down officers at their posts. The blast shattered compartments from the Combat Information Center to the 40mm gun mount, igniting fires and rupturing oxygen tanks. In less than a minute, 38 men were dead, 55 more wounded. The bridge crew staggered, half blinded by smoke, while below, the boiler room filled with steam and fire. For a moment, all that remained was stunned silence and the bitter taste of burning metal in the air. Flames still licked at the bulkheads as the damage control teams charged through the smoke. The forward fire room was a ruin, but the engineering crew fought to keep the steam lines intact. Pumps strained against rising water, while sailors in soaked coveralls hammered in shoring timbers and patched the hull with whatever metal they could find. The medical staff worked in cramped quarters, transforming the wardroom into a triage bay for the wounded. By nightfall, the worst fires were out and flooding was contained. With 1 boiler lost, Kidd limped south at 15 knots, her hull scarred but afloat. She reached Ulithi anchorage for temporary repairs, then crossed the Pacific to Hunters Point Naval Shipyard, arriving on May 25, 1945. Against all odds, the ship that had nearly gone under made it home under her own power, held together by the hands and grit of her crew. Most people have never heard this story, yet 80 years later, USS Kidd, bearing 12 battle stars, still stands, scarred but undefeated. Her steel and spirit challenge us to remember what resilience truly means. In every storm, legends like this remind us survival isn't luck, it's legacy. Thanks for watching.